efforts is the best way to get the confidence. Like if you put insane amount of effort into developing a skill, you will be confident when you're showing that skill, be it problem solving, be it speaking to a larger audience. If you have put enough efforts, you will be confident in that particular skill. I think it also follows like a simple compound interest logic, right? Time and again, if you get opportunities where you show that you are really confident, it builds in your personality.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Other Side, the podcast about life beyond college and the damn good stories of those who have tread this path before you. We are your hosts, Sabya
and Surya. And in today's episode, we are back with our second guest on the show. So we are thrilled to be back, and today's guest is a very close friend of both of us. He has also been pretty invested in this entire podcasting journey as well. He's a recent graduate from IIT Madras, but unlike our previous guest, he took the rather more traditional path of taking up a corporate job. Today's guest is Shubham Nandeshwar, currently an associate product manager at Flipkart. So Sabya, both of us were very excited about getting Shubham on the show. We have our reasons. Why don't you tell our listeners a bit about why you wanted Shubham on the show?
Yeah, there are two big reasons why I wanted Shubham on the podcast. The first being, I feel product manager as a role becoming more popular these days, and I wanted to know more about what a product manager does. And second being, I know Shubham for like past 4 years. He has been a very close friend, and I have always found him quite motivating when he gives advice. Rather, when I thought of starting this podcast and went around telling people about I wanted to start this, he was the one who started giving me advice. And I have always felt he is very motivating, and I thought he will be a great addition to the podcast.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think most of our reasons are similar. And when you say the stuff you said about advice, it just brings back to mind an old incident that happened. So in my second year, Shubham and I had gone to a competition and with a third team member. And I still remember we were sitting outside waiting for our final round, and me and my team member, we were both dejected and confused whether we would be able to give our best. We weren't sure we had prepared enough. And then Shubham walked in and gave us an inspiring speech for like 10 minutes. And we went on to win the competition. And I've seen him do this so many times. Like I've worked with him. You've also worked with him.
Yeah.
And I've found him to be a very motivating person. Someone whom if you talk to, you get energized. So that was one of the main reasons I wanted Shubham on the show. Obviously, over the past 3 years that I've known him, he has served as a mentor to me as well. And even after he joined Flipkart, even today, I can call him at any time I want and talk to him when I need advice or need help on something. And I'm really thrilled to have him on the show. So Sabya will be your host for today's episode. So Sabya, why don't you tell our listeners what you discuss about with Shubham?
Yeah, so we talk about a lot of things. First, a long-ranging discussion about what product management is and what he does as a product manager. Then what he has done in his insta life that is helping him right now in his job. Then a bit about the transition from college to job because he's a recent graduate. So it's a fun conversation with Shubham, and I loved talking to him after such a long time. And I hope listeners get something out of this as well. So let's go to the podcast now. Thank you, Shubham, for coming on the podcast. Thanks for your time. It's great to have you on the show. So, how's work life being right now?
Firstly, thanks for having me, Sabya and Surya. Work life. It's slightly a tricky situation right now. I'm in Pune. I'm not in Bangalore. I'm staying with my parents here. Since my work is possible to do remotely, all of us are doing we are working from home. So it's different from for all of us, but I think people soon will adapt to it, and so will I, hopefully.
So, are there any new things that you have caught up with, like new habits?
Yes, I think one of the new habits is trying to like effectively crunch whatever I want to convey in like the 30 minutes of the meeting, because in office what used to happen was, even if I miss something, I simply used to go to the designers or the developers desk and communicate it. I don't have to walk for like more than 10 meters to just go and talk to them informally. Now
Hmm.
that is not possible. Like I can't keep calling them for small things. So I think that's one definite change.
So now that we have, we are still talking about work, but we have not mentioned. So Shubham here is a product manager. I want to know more about what you work in. Now I have a vague, I will not say vague, but a bit of idea about what product management is. I know it's an intersection between business, tech, and design, and product managers are known as CEO of products. But
Mhm.
I want to know more about what exactly the profession is. What do product managers do?
All right. So funny that you mentioned that definition of being the CEO of the product, right?
Yeah.
I think I remember that on our first day, we were we were going through this onboarding process, and the head of the APM program, Arindam, he told us that that definition is wrong. You are not the CEO of the product, and
Okay.
he instead reformulated that definition. He said, you're not the CEO of the product, but you are the owner of the problem. What that means is, whenever there's a discussion between various stakeholders, you represent the user in that room, because there is an incentive for the business stakeholder to take a decision in the business favor, and that might not be the same. I mean, that decision might harm the customer at the end, right? Similarly, designers and engineers and other stakeholders have some incentive to take a decision in their favor, but
Okay.
there's no one representing the user. So I think that's what you do. Now, coming back to what exactly is product management,
Hmm.
I personally think it's problem solving. By that I mean identifying the right problems to solve first, and then digging specifically to the right granularity, and then figuring out the solutions for it, and then also driving the execution for it, not just making a pitch deck or making submitting those ideas to someone, but also driving the execution, also monitoring the launch once you release in the market. The entire life cycle of thinking about a problem and coming up with a solution for it is essentially what product management is.
Okay. How does your day-to-day life looks like?
Right. So I just mentioned the product life cycle, right?
Hmm.
The first step is you think about, you basically identify a set of problems, and you discover these problems based on various sources in the industry, be it your internal data analytics, be it your social media posts where customers are complaining about something that they are facing a problem with, and so on. So you first, on a day-to-day basis, identify those problems. Then you develop your strategy around how to solve them. The
Okay.
third part is, you execute. That's the execution phase, where you work with your stakeholders like designers and engineers, and execute it, and finally launch it and monitor if it's working the way you expected. Now, in this life cycle, every product will have this life cycle, right?
Hmm.
Depending on the status of my product, my day-to-day hops between one of these for the products. So that's typical. That's typical day for me.
Okay. I want to know more about what the product is. Like we are telling product management and you are a product manager. What exactly is a product?
All right. So I think, very broadly speaking, a product is something that you can offer to a market for consumption and for attention, and that
Hmm.
satisfies some want or need of the user at the end of the day, right? Think about your smartphone. Your smartphone is being offered by so many multinational companies for consumption, for various needs that the user has, right? From calling to clicking photographs to using social media and so on. So the smartphone overall is one product, but that's a very complex product. Like, within that also, if you let's imagine an iPhone, I'm sure internally just the iPhone camera team itself is a huge team, and a bunch of product managers are working on it. Like something like night mode is one product manager's end-to-end execution, right?
Okay.
So I would say that's how you can visualize, and that translates to something like a Flipkart ecosystem as well. Like if you think about right when you start thinking about ordering something on Flipkart, all the subsystems that you interact with, meaning you will first, let's say, search for the product, then go to the product page, see your delivery date, see the price, see the delivery fees, and so on, and then you place the order, you do the payment, and then finally you actually receive the order. There's also a flow like you will return it and so on. So all the subsystems that you will interact with are internally products within Flipkart. And overall, as the brand also, Flipkart is a product that is serving your need of fulfilling that product that you want to buy.
You must have some idea before joining product management, right? And now that you have been there for 1 year, how has that expectation versus reality been?
Wow, that's an interesting question. So I would say the expectation versus reality have been pretty much met. I had expected that I will be working with multiple teams and driving the product's vision and execution. I am doing that. Obviously, given that I am a young product manager, this is my first job. The scale and the type of product that I'm working on obviously will change over the years. But at my position, I think the expectation and reality is pretty much matching. One thing that I would say is I think everyone expects a rosy picture of being the CEO of the product. This is being a CEO, but without having an authority. What that means is you can't sometimes control the output. What you can control is input and how you drive your team to execute certain products. So
Okay.
I think that's what has been my experience in the past 9 months.
Now, you have gone from just a BTech and MTech degree to product management. Is it that engineering background is required for being into product management? Like, I want to understand how what are the different entry points for someone who wants to get into this profession?
All right. In general, if you think about it, there are programs now inside India, in the country, where there are paths to enter into product management right after undergrad, like how I did. There are paths now to enter right after B school. Flipkart hires directly from B schools as well. And although the numbers, the programs are a bit low, but in your year itself, we saw so many new companies come for hiring for a product management role in an undergrad college.
Yeah.
So I think these are definitely two existing paths. The other is people transition from a PM related role, meaning they work closely with a product manager. Let's say a designer can transition into to a PM role. A developer also can fairly easily do it. A product analyst can do it. Over time, if they just observe and get those interview skills, it's easy to transition, I would say.
The next part of my question was, is engineering a set requirement for getting into this profession?
No. I, in fact, have interacted with product managers inside Flipkart who are not from engineering background. In fact, they studied law in their undergrad and studied architecture in their undergrad. So I think it depends on the company, but largely speaking, majority companies do not have a hard engineering requirement as a background.
Okay, that's really interesting. So now moving on, now you mentioned about usually beforehand it used to be like MBA folks who get hired, right? But now things are changing. Now you are also a fresh undergrad who got hired into a PM
That's
role.
correct. Yes.
So what exactly in your 5 years helped you to getting, or not helped you, helping you right now in your job?
I think if I think about it broadly, right, the 5 years in Insti teaches us to be problem solvers, be it our academic courses, which sometimes if you are liking the course, you will develop those problem solving analytical skills. So that's something that day to day basis is something I use.
Okay.
So that's definitely one thing that helps us. Second, I would say is there's a huge part of people's component in the job definition, and because I was involved in a bunch of extracurricular activities on campus, that's definitely something that I feel I easily now transition that and use those skills in my day-to-day job. So I would say problem solving at large and people skills that I developed because of doing a bunch of extracurriculars is something I use on a day-to-day basis.
Now, when you tell by people skills, what do you exactly mean by people skills? I
All right,
mean,
that's
obviously hard
yeah,
to
yeah.
describe, but still.
No, so think about it this way, like you know you have to get to a meeting and convince everyone that your perspective is better or is what the right perspective should be. And then you also have not just your seniors but your juniors, all levels of employees, and you being a young product manager in the room, you have to address first everyone's concern, tell them why they are wrong, and then tell them what the right approach is. This requires a certain empathy that you have to show with towards people. This requires that you build a rapport with them, and this requires that you do stakeholder management effectively, because in the long run you have to work day in and out with these people. When I say people skills, I think these are small things that we learn time and again if we are involved in organizing fests and so on. So this is precisely what I mean by people skill.
Okay, that's a really interesting way to put it. Now that you have already mentioned that you were involved in extracurriculars, right? So now I know what extracurriculars you were involved in, but can you describe what were those activities you did in your 5 years in Insti that you are mentioning about?
Sure. So I think I was. Let's put it this way. With respect to the positions of responsibility, as we call it in Insti,
Yours.
I was PORs. I was involved in the organizing team of our technical festival, Shastra, since my second year. And with respect to other extracurriculars, I think one of the things that I actively did, in fact, Surya was one of my partners in doing that, was take part in immense number of competitions and conferences across the world. So that's another set of extracurriculars that I pursued actively in Insti.
So there are two questions right now in my mind. The first one being, you recently mentioned, like just mentioned that you went to a lot of competition and conferences, right? So
That's correct.
can you remember or tell what you learned? Like, what was the learnings from competitions and the conferences?
So I think if I have to put what the international travel taught me, I think in one word, it's perspective. It's perspective towards life. It's perspective towards your own ambitions. It's perspective towards your day to day thinking about how your life should be, right?
Okay.
The one thing that traveling to a different location, interacting with people from different backgrounds teaches you is what influences them. And I'm sure you have been through some of the similar experiences that I was lucky to be a part of, and you can relate to this at much more depth. I would say that is definitely the USP of international travel. And obviously, I mean, think about this: a bunch of engineers in their third year, fourth year have no clue about a real estate industry, but because they have problem solving skills and presentation skills, they just figure out what that industry is, figure out how to crack that problem, and then make it to the world finals of that problem, right? So I think just doing that, a first immensely increased their confidence in saying, we will be able to solve any problem that Insti throws at us in the next few years. So getting to that stage and getting that recognition while we were there is something I feel boosts your confidence while you are in Insti, and then obviously the perspective changes immensely in the process.
I would definitely agree. Now that you have mentioned confidence, that reminds me of something that I was outside for one of the conferences. I mean, you have also been there. One stark difference I saw was the confidence in the people there and the people back at Insti. So the conference we are mentioning here is called GES, Global Engagement Summit, and it's a week-long social entrepreneurship conference conducted by the students of Northwestern University. And here you get a chance to make really good network with like delegates from 60 plus countries, some 20 plus mentors and the students from Northwestern University who help you build your social initiative. I mean, their first year, second years were so much confident than I was when in my senior year. That was like really eye-opening, I would say.
Oh, for sure. I have been through a similar experience. I went there like you in my fourth year, right? I saw someone in their freshman year being immensely confident about what they were speaking about, how they were portraying their personality. And I think I did question why that cultural difference is there, why people so early on in their college life are so confident about it. And
Hmm.
I think I might have an answer to that. And the answer
Okay.
could be something like the education system there in general questions them at every step. What I mean by that is, to enter college they have to justify why they are choosing a certain major and why they want to spend the 3-4 years studying that field. Now
Okay.
think about our education system. I don't think any of us were questioned why we are choosing certain engineering field, right?
Yeah.
The very fact that we did not even think which engineering field we have to get into tells us that we definitely do not, like majority of us do not have the clarity as to what we will be doing in college with that degree, right? So that
Yeah.
uncertainty definitely adds to the not so confident personalities on campus. And this might be the reason that I feel freshman students there and final year or fourth year students here, there's a stark difference in confidence.
But now that you are doing a job, you are working as a professional, I'm sure
Mhm.
confidence would be a big part of your job, right? Like being confident.
Yes, I think be it a job, be it while you are in college, I think confidence is that one, I would say, superpower which anyone who has it suddenly appears more charming, more convincing. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a people's job. You have to be confident while you're interacting with people day in and day out.
Like just to give a perspective, when I was in my freshman, when I joined Insti, I was like
Mhm.
really introvert, really underconfident.
Mhm.
Now I think Insti, the 5 years has taught me to become more confident. But I would like to know from your side what helped you maybe gain more confidence or get that extra bit of knowing about your confidence level and getting working on that. So what did you work in your 5 years to increase that?
This is what I think about confidence in general. And I think keep saying this time and again that efforts is the best way to get the confidence. Like if you put insane amount of effort into developing a skill, you will be confident when you're showing that skill. Be it problem solving, be it speaking to a larger audience. Effort is the one metric that I say, if you have put enough efforts, you will be confident in that particular skill.
Agree.
And it I think it also follows like a simple compound interest logic, right? Time and again, if you get opportunities where you show that you are really confident, it builds in your personality. Like you don't scare away from talking to a larger group of people and being confident while you are doing it. So I think with time you develop it. It's like a muscle, and with time you will get stronger at it.
So now just to summarize your competitions, your conferences, and
Mhm.
the extracurriculars, like the PORs you did in Steve, were basically the major activities that really helped you getting that amount of people skills, which includes communication, confidence.
That's correct. That's basically one of the things that helped me. Obviously, having a brilliant set of juniors and seniors and the network in Insti is a big part of everyone's growing up in Insti. So I would say that was one major ecosystem of people that helped me in the 5 years, and in fact will help me going forward as well.
Interesting that you have put this because we think
Mhm.
that the people around us really influence us in one way.
I agree with that. Yes,
And finding the right kind of people is kind of a boon.
that's correct. Yes, but I think that definition of right versus wrong. I mean, I don't think there is any definition of wrong in Insti, right?
Okay.
It's a choice that everyone gets to make. It's not like the seniors in college preferentially treat a certain set of juniors. If possible, I think the juniors can interact with everyone in the senior batch, but then people just stick to a certain set of group and then they don't go beyond that circle. And that, by nature of it, in your definition, it might be wrong, but I think it's a choice. So the choice is something that people are making, and if they're fine with it, then we should not be questioning it. I feel if they feel it's right for them, then that's their choice towards their life in Insta.
I have always thought a lot of times about finding the right mentor. Like, do you have the mentors in your life, and how have you found them? How do you know they're right for you?
Hmm. I think I do. I think, see, no one today, I mean, very few would go to someone and say, "Will you be my mentor?" That's not how it works, right? It's an
Right.
organic relation that you develop with the mentor-mentee relation is something that develops over time, and you see that your advice is being followed by the mentee, and then it works for them, and then that relationship strengthens even more. So I would say I definitely have a set of mentors, mostly seniors from Insti, who time and again have shown me that you should do certain things and believe in certain things, and it will work out for you. And majority of the times it did. So which means that they did think about how my personality is, how I will fit into certain things, and gave it a thought about how it will pan out for me in future if I take certain risks. So I think I definitely have a set of mentors. And I would say your second part of the question was, how do you find mentors, right?
I mean, how do you know that someone is the mentor?
It's easy for us to know when there's like a serious conflict of choices that you have to make, and let's say there are two options that you're choosing from. Let's take a Insta specific scenario,
Okay.
whether you should apply for internship A or B, and your so-called mentor thinks deeply about how your personality fits into those, and then tells you why you should pursue one versus the other.
Okay.
I think someone putting that effort from their personal time, and especially if they're working from their, when they're working, putting that amount of time into convincing you about something, that shows that they care for you, and that shows that they want to be your mentor in a way. So I think that's one way to check it. I don't think there's like a formal way to identify if someone is a mentor or not. But yeah.
Now let me take you back to your work life. I don't think it has been even a year since you have started working. So how has that transition been from college life, apart from sleeping in afternoon? What else has changed?
Okay.
I think the funny part is it was not just the afternoons. I had the habit of sleeping at random times and then putting night outs, etc. And I think you guys have had the fair share of incidents when I was just sleeping and in my room, and in fact I even missed my US visa interview because I overslept, almost missed it, and then figured out somehow to get inside. But yeah, how's the transition been? I think since we are talking about sleep, I feel I have realized what a good night's sleep of about 8 hours helps you with your day-to-day productivity, right? So I'm forcing myself to do that, not go into the same college night out mode. Although it's tough. I mean, it's tough to simply change. But that's one thing that I'm learning in the transition from college to work life. I think apart from that, if you think about it, right, I think adulting when you're staying alone in like a new city, it's about those small and big decisions that you have to make on a daily basis. To give you an example, a decision of those sorts will be, if I'm commuting to work, how do I go on a daily basis, right? Like whether I choose the multiple ride sharing apps, whether I walk, whether I cycle, and so on. There are multiple ways to do it. Now, this might sound like a very trivial example, but to just take that extra decision, I feel it's sometimes decision fatigue when you add all those together. So I am doing a bit of making systems and making processes so that I don't have to take those decisions. So, for instance, I now recently started cycling to work instead of deciding how to go. And with respect to like overall transition and with respect to like work alone, I think now it's a much more stable routine. Obviously, not now because I am in Pune working from home, but back when in Bangalore about 2-3 weeks back, it was a stable routine. I've understood the processes and systems inside Flipkart and how it works. So I was able to, on a daily basis, plan out my day also really well. So the transition has been smooth, I would say.
Does the routine get boring anytime?
Not with respect to the job, because right now, given the diversity of projects I was working on, there was something challenging and something to look after every day. So I wouldn't say, and it's also just been like about 9 months, right? It's not a lot of time. So I mean, I don't think it's boring yet.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, before ending, what advice will you give first year Shubham? Basically, if 6 years ago you have to advise yourself about something, what will be that advice be?
That's an interesting question. So I think the first advice that I will definitely tell myself is decide early on what my idea of success is going to be. Meaning, if I'm spending 5 years in Insti, what does success mean at the end of it? And surprisingly, I think even you might have noticed that by the time final semester comes, everyone's idea of success happens to be those limited set of jobs on day one of placements.
Yeah.
I think we should evolve that definition. I mean, all of us come from such a diverse background. It can't be that our idea of success is those limited set of options. So we should think about what it really means and take considerate efforts towards achieving it. And the sooner we do it, I think the better it is. But yeah, I think that's one advice I will give myself, to my younger self. I think second would be, I think, acknowledging the factor of luck and privilege in every opportunity Insti gives, right? Although I have consciously not, damaged myself in thinking about if some opportunity did not pan out. But there's always a factor of luck. Like, you can't blame totally yourself if things didn't work out the way you expected them to. To give you an example, I never got a day one internship, so to say, which people think it's one of the coveted things to do in Insti. But do I feel it should have happened? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to even think about it right now, because I was, irrespective of that, I did pretty fine in Insti, I feel. So I think just acknowledging the factor of luck in your day-to-day opportunities is something that I would tell myself. And if I have to lastly think, all of us enter into IIT with like different privileges, right? And we will be graduating with one of the common privileges, and that's like a degree from one of the top institutes in the country. I think that alone can give you a head start in your career, but that will not help you sustain that career trajectory, right? Over time, your skills and your network is what is going to define who you are and how you succeed in your life. So I feel investing in those relationships, investing in those friendships in the on the campus is what I tell myself. Although I did that decently well, I guess, but that's something that I would tell not just a younger self, but people in Insti who are in their early years of college life, right? I would say make sure that by the time you finish your time in Insti, you shorten the privilege gap that you feel existed in your first year because of not having the right resources with you.
I think with this, we have come to an end of this interview. It was great having you on the show. I think both Surya and me, when we started making the list, you were one of the first guests we wanted to have on the show, because we both have learned from you a lot in Insti, and hope that this episode will help others as well. So thank you again for coming to the show.
And thanks for having me. No, I'm really glad to talk to you. And I said that as a joke, but yeah, I think I will say this was like a therapy session to me.
So that was it from this episode of The Other Side. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You can find us on Instagram at theotherside_podcast. And you're more than welcome to ping us with feedback regarding the episode and regarding any guests you would love to hear from. Meanwhile, stay safe, hit that follow button, share this episode with your friends, and stay tuned for more. Adios and see you again soon.